Hi guys, a very good morning and welcome to Power Breakfast. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Those were all of the top headlines that we're tracking for you this morning. So clearly we have a lot to get to. But first up, let's take a look at what's happening with the global markets. Of course, very limited cues coming in because the US was shut on account of the Labor Day holiday. But Asia has opened higher and most of them in the green right now. So Hang Seng is trading with gains of around 0.3%. You have the Taiwanese index on your screen as well. That's seeing a move of around 50 points higher. So 0.3% there as well. Some of the other Asian markets, for example, the Nikkei, Shanghai, all of them seeing some minor gains. It's no big move across Asia, but most of them are higher. Kospi is the only one which is seeing just a minor downtick right now at the start of the trading session. So that's what's happening in the Asian markets. The SGX Nifty is also up on your screen, indicating perhaps a mildly higher start, just around 20 points higher on the SGX Nifty, and it has come off a little bit in the past 10-15 minutes or so as well. Of course, like I told you, the US markets were shut yesterday for the Labor Day holiday, but the Dow futures are moving higher now, around 185 points in the green. Meanwhile, European markets didn't do so well, so those indices will be up on your screen. And we saw most of them close lower on concerns over Russia's energy supply to the region. So the German DAX index is up on your screen. It saw, actually, it was a big underperformance, saw cuts of over 2%, 2.2% lower there. The French CAC was down 1%, while the British FTSE closed absolutely flat, just around 6 points in the green. So that's what's happening as far as the European markets go. Now, gas prices soared around 30% on Monday after Russia shut off gas flows to Europe via the Nord Stream 2 pipeline indefinitely. Now, in currency markets, the euro also dropped below 0.99 to the dollar mark for the first time in 20 years on Monday morning. It did, however, recover some of the earlier losses, but this is a level that we have not seen in a very long time. Now, after Liz Truss was named the UK's next Prime Minister, that was the big political development that came through. Deutsche Bank said that policy announcements in the coming week will be crucial to avoid some extreme macroeconomic events. It also warned that the risk of a sterling crisis should not be underestimated. So that's what's coming through as far as the European markets go. The US might be shut, but we have a lot of action to track from the European markets. But let's talk about all of the cues that you should be tracking as we get into a brand new trading session. We have Sonal joining us, and she's going to take us through all of the stocks as well as the trade setup that we are looking at. So Sonal as well as Mangalam, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. So Sonal, like we pointed out, not too much in terms of global cues, but it was a good session for our own markets yesterday. What should we watch today?
Well, yes, it was a good session for our own markets yesterday. We have been bucking the global trend, right, Pavitra? And that is something that is expected today as well. As you pointed out, US markets are shut. But as far as our markets are concerned, minor intraday dips got bought yesterday. In fact, we closed at a day's high. Nifty was up 126 points and Nifty is stuck within a range now of 17,300 on the downside and 17,800 on the upside and is comfortably above its 20-day moving average. As far as the flow data is concerned, we saw that FIIs, they sold around 812 crore rupees, which was a bigger jump if we compare it to the previous day. And DIIs, they bought around 534 crore rupees in the cash market. US market shut overnight, so not a big queue coming in from the global markets. However, if we talk about the European markets, they were largely lower because of the energy crisis that we are talking about and the gas supplies which have been shut to the European region. Currency market on the back of which came into focus, euro at a two-decade low of $0.99, and we were also talking about how UK has a new prime minister, so sterling moves will be watched out for. And yesterday we saw that sterling was at a 2.5-year low of $1.14. Asian markets largely mixed. We have some green on the screen as far as Hang Seng and Taiwanese index are concerned. SGX Nifty that has come off from the highs is indicating an uptick of 19 points. But we'll have to see which way things go because our markets have really been following the reverse of what SGX Nifty is indicating. Crude oil prices, they will be in focus because OPEC Plus will cut output by $100,000 a barrel, which is just 0.1% of the global demand. But it is a start of a cycle where production cuts are being announced. So definitely crude prices will be in focus as well. And that is something which impacts Indian markets as well.
All right, Sonal, thanks a lot for laying out all of those cues that we should keep on our radar, but also talking about the individual stocks that we should watch. Take us through that list as well.
Well, not many stocks which will be in focus, but a couple of them which do have news flow for them. Narayana Hrudyalaya has acquired a Bengaluru hospital for 200 crore rupees. They have signed pact with Shiva and Shiva Orthopedic Hospital and will be acquiring that one. NTPC has acquired Jhabua Power while corporate insolvency route. Reliance Industries will be in focus. It is a small acquisition, 79.5 7.4% stake in Sensex Inc. for a total of $32 million. The size is small, but it's important because this company is a developer of software-based management tools for the solar energy generation industry. So one step ahead in their green energy foray that the company has been talking about. ONGC All India in focus because, as we said, OPEC Plus has cut production overnight, has announced production cut overnight, and that is something that will impact crude prices and ultimately these oil producers as well. Veranda Learning will consider fundraising options on September 14th. So all these stocks will be in focus today.
All right, Sonal, thanks a lot for taking us through that entire list. Finally, let's also bring Mangalam in, and he's looking at all of the cues from the futures and options space. Mangalam.
Well, yesterday the US markets were shut, and the proverbial when the cat is away, mice are out to play actually played out. We rallied, and we rallied on low volumes. The FIs, why they sold on about 812 crores in the cash markets. The DIs bought around 534 crores. The FI gross volumes were between 4,500 and 5,000 odd crores, much lower than what we see on an average, and that was primarily on account of the US market holiday. But what also took place was the Nifty September futures, which was close to around 23 points in terms of premium, spiked to around 44 points, and that was telling you that there was short covering, and that short covering propelled the up move even further. Because if you look at it, the previous trading session, the FIs had sold big in index futures. Their longs were just about 19%. Here they bought around 1,100 odd crores. They added around 3,800 longs, and at the same time covered close to 9,000 short contracts on expected lines because the shorts weren't getting any follow through in yesterday's trading session. So now their longs have inched from 19% to 23%, though be mindful of the fact that the shorts are still at around 77%. In options as well, the FI has covered some short calls, so we saw them cover almost 12,500 short contracts, but importantly they wrote 55,000 short puts. So that's telling you that lower levels are finding some support. What are those levels? Well, 17,600 and 17,500 puts were extremely active in yesterday's trading session, both of them adding together close to around 50 lakh shares in open interest. The 17,600 put has a premium of almost 95 odd rupees, so that's telling you 17,500 is an important support mark to watch out for. But apart from that, the 20-day moving average of 17,613 will also be important to watch out for. And on the way up, last week's high of 17,777 is something that the street will keep an eye out on.
All right, Mangalam as well as Sonal, thank you for joining us and taking us through all of those cues that we should watch as we get into our fresh trading session. With that, it's time for our first short break in the show. But when we return, Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri says that India will carefully assess the G7's price cap on Russian oil, but national interest will drive any decision. More on that story when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back. You're still watching Power Breakfast, and let's get you an interesting conversation. Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri says that India will carefully assess the G7's proposal to impose a price cap on Russian oil. Speaking to CNBC's Hadley Gamble on the sidelines of the Gas Tech 2022 summit in Milan, he also said that India would continue to buy oil from Russia and that any decision will only be taken on the basis of national interest. So let's listen in to an excerpt from that chat.
There are many conversations going on due to a large number of factors. There is a shortage of supply. The demand is higher than the supply. OPEC has today taken a decision to circumscribe its own production by 100,000 barrels. There's a talk on the price cap. There are a lot of things. We, apart from being a population of 1.4 billion, we consume 5 million barrels of oil in a day. We have 60 million people going to a petrol bunk every day to fill up. And throughout this difficult period, and by difficult period, I don't mean just the pandemic. Pandemic in and of itself was difficult. Yeah. I mean, the price of oil went down, as far as I can remember, to $19 a barrel. Then it went up to 120 plus. Then you had the, Russian-Ukraine factor. Now, the world is adjusting to all that. Now, what will a proposal mean? We will look at it very carefully. Who will be the participants? What will be the implications, etc. Today, our 5 million barrels of oil, where does it come from? Well, it comes largely from Saudi Arabia, from Abu Dhabi, from Kuwait. Iraq is actually our largest supplier.
Yeah.
And so we have 5 million barrels, each one of them a little less than 1 million barrels, about 864,000. Russia accounted, if memory serves me right, towards the end of the financial year, which ended 31 March 2022, 0.2%. That's all we had. Then when the thing started, so somebody said, India is buying a lot of oil from Russia. I said, the Europeans buy more in one afternoon than I do in a quarter. I'd be surprised if that is not the condition still. But yes, we will buy from Russia. We'll buy from wherever.
Yeah.
A democratically elected government.
And you don't have a moral conflict with the Russians at all?
No, it's just question of no conflict. I have a moral duty to my consumer. Do I, as a democratically elected government, want a situation where the petrol bunk runs dry? Look at what's happening in countries around India.
But they did invade a democratically elected country.
No, I'm not getting into that debate.
Yeah.
It's a question of energy. Energy, as far as I know, is not sanctioned. Okay? Energy, there is a encouragement, but there are so many other factors. Also, if we balance it, we buy 4 million from here, if we buy, I don't know how much we are buying from Russia. So we are realistic. And by the way, those who wanted to do that ideological punitive action, they're still buying.
Yeah.
And they're going to be buying for a while.
All right, that is Hardeep Puri there talking about India's stance on the Russian oil, also saying that any decision will only be driven by national interest. But with that, let's actually stick with this space and get you a quick check on what's going on with the crude prices. Brent crude is currently trading at around $95 a barrel, so it's pretty much unchanged after OPEC and its allies on Monday agreed to a small oil production cut in order to bolster prices that have fallen due to fears of an ongoing economic slowdown, as well as the subsequent impact that we could see on demand. So the major oil producers will cut output by 100,000 barrels per day for October. It is a small cut, but it is the first one since the COVID pandemic. So that's something important to track as well and watch out for crude prices today. But with that, we have to get into another short break. Up next, the big political development from the UK. Liz Truss will be the United Kingdom's next Prime Minister and becomes the third woman to lead the country. We'll get you all of the details when we come back. Welcome back, and we have an interesting conversation lined up for you. FMCG major ITC is expecting robust demand in the upcoming festive season for its chocolates and confectionery category on the back of a strong revival in discretionary spends. That's the word coming in from Anuj Rustagi, COO for chocolates and coffee as well as confectionery categories at ITC Foods. In an exclusive chat with Shilpa, Anuj talks about demand revival, festive season demand as well as product expansion. So let's listen in to that conversation.
These were the categories which were quite disproportionately hit during the pandemic time. So as things have normalized and people have started stepping out, we are seeing quite a good demand materializing for all discretionary categories. We are not yet seeing major impacts of inflation in the demand the discretionary categories are seeing. Most of the categories we handle have a larger skew for urban. There we are not seeing a slowdown in demand as yet. Inflation does impact demand, we know that, but it will take a bit of time for it to materialize.
We've seen one or two festivals come and go. How's the early trends of the festive demand looking like? And what are your expectations from this festive season over not just like the last two pandemic years, but pre-pandemic levels as well?
So the demand for the chocolates and the confectionery category is quite robust. And we are very encouraged with what we have seen during Rakhi, which just went by, where we saw strong double-digit growth for at least our brands. We expect the demand to be quite robust, both because there is a lot of gifting we expect from corporates, but also from individuals as they begin socializing again, both at a professional level, at a personal level as well.
Right. Any rough figures you can give me? What's the kind of growth that you're expecting over last year or over pre-pandemic levels?
So right now, it will be quite difficult to predict because the festive demand materializes very close to the festival. But I do expect it to be strong double digits. We have also been launching new innovations in the confectionery category under the brand Candyman, which have already hit the market, whether it is on soft chews with a fruity fun kind of a value offering, which is offering 3 candies at the price of ₹1. or our entry into some of the innovative formats using jellies as a base. Urban per se gives a huge headroom for growth given the shares we as a category have, right? Yes, some of the 1 rupee offering will penetrate deep, but the primary focus remains urban because we are a small market share with substantial room to grow.
All right, that is the management of ITC sounding extremely optimistic about the chocolate and confectionery category, saying that they're seeing good demand and that they're likely to see double-digit growth, considering that this part of the business was also disproportionately hit during the pandemic. By the way, the SGX Nifty has slipped quite a bit. It is at the low point right now, and it has also moved into the red, so it's around 10 points lower, indicating that we might get a bit of a softish start for our own market. So do keep your eye out on that. It's been quite a fall in the past couple of minutes. But with that, we're going to move on and bring you some action from the primary markets. Dreamfolk Services, that's India's largest airport service aggregator platform, will list today. Vahishta is joining us with the details. Vahishta, good morning. Of course, take us through the issue details, but also tell us a little bit about this company.
Hi Pavitra, good morning. Dreamfolk Services will be making its market debut today, and it is India's largest airport services aggregator platform, like you mentioned. The industry has an expected growth rate of approximately 40%, and the company facilitates access to 54 lounges operational currently. The company provides services to all the card networks which are operating in India, including Visa, MasterCard, RuPay, etc. Now, the blended income per customer for this company is 880 rupees, which varies across metro cities, across tier 2, tier 3 cities. Even domestic and international lounges have a different price. So the company has an estimated market share of 95% in FY22 domestically. The IPO issue size is up to 562 crores with an offer for sale of 33% dilution. And after the issue, the promoter holding would be at 67%, while the public holding would be at 33%. The price band was 308 to 326 rupees per share, and the offer date was 24 to 26th of August of this year. Now, the capital that is going to be raised from this IPO is expected to be used for expanding their services globally in other countries and also expand their employee base as well as rewarding their employees in the form of ESOPs, etc. It has received some good response from the investor community as a whole. The total subscription was 57 times, with QIB highest at 71 times, non-institutional investors at 38 times, and retail institutional investors of 31 times. Now, in terms of financials, the FY22 revenues, margins, and even bottom line are below pre-COVID levels. So, prima facie, the valuations look a little expensive at 105 times. Let's see at what price the stock lists today.
All right, we'll see at what price it lists at 10 a.m. today. That is Dreamfolk's going to list on the exchanges today. But with that, let's move on and bring you the big global story. This is as far as UK's political situation goes. Liz Truss will be succeeding Boris Johnson as the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. The 47-year-old defeated party colleague Rishi Sunak by over 20,000 votes in the Tory leadership battle. Truss accounted for 57% of the votes, and Liz Truss's ascendancy, remember, comes at a time when the United Kingdom is witnessing a cost of living crisis, incidents of industrial unrest, as well as a looming recession. Truss would be the third woman after Margaret Thatcher and Theresa May to head the UK government. All right. So that is what we're tracking as far as the UK political situation goes. Liz Truss will be the next Prime Minister. With that, we're completely out of time. Asia is quite mixed, although the Korean markets as well as the Japanese Nikkei have moved into the red. The SGX Nifty also at the low point, currently around 12 points in the red. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Bazaar Morning Call is up next.